We will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So today we are going to talk about 32 body parts. It's very common in Buddha's teaching. We can find these 32 body parts in many different suttas. So in Visuddhimagga, it also mentioned Kaya Kadasati. In Bali, we just call Kaya Kadasati. Then it also mentioned that we have to descend orderly and reverse order and so forth. There are many different ways of instructions here. So in the very beginning, we have to talk about learning. In the very beginning of Samadhi chapter, we have already explained 3 types of meditation in brief. They are seeing, they are also learning. We can also like Dita Sutta, right? Now, in the case of Anapanasati, it can be like a futta touching. But here, when we are going to talk about 32 body parts, in Pali, we have Kaya Kadasati, mindfulness occupied with the body. So in this teaching, we have to learn. By learning, we can also practice. So now we have 7 skills in learning. So first, we have to learn all the 32 body parts by heart. So how to learn? 1, Vajasa Sajjayo, as verbal recitation. So we have to recite verbally from 1 to 32, again and again. It also recommended to recite reverse order from 32 to number 1. So 32nd to first body parts. In the very beginning, we have to try by heart by reciting continuously. Then 2, Manasa Sajjayo, as mental recitation. So we have to recite mentally. So after verbal recitations, if we can do well, we can also continue reciting mentally. So these 2 are very beginning of learning. After that, we have 3, Vanato, as to color. Different body parts may have different color. So we have to know the color of the body parts. Also, we have to feel as repulsive. Then 4, Santanato, as to shape. Different body parts may have different shape. We also have to know different shape of the body parts. Then 5, Disato, as to direction. So in the books, it will mention upper directions and lower direction. Sometimes it will mention both directions. What does it mean, upper and lower? Actually, we have to consider, we have to count from the navel. From navel to up is called upper directions. From navel to the downwards, it will be lower directions. So we have to understand this as directions, as to directions. It can be either upper body parts or lower body parts, starting from the navel. So 6, Okasato, as to location. So they have different locations in the different place. We have different body parts. We also have to know where it's located, where is it situated inside our body or outside our body. Then 7, the last one. Parichetato as to delimitation. Here in this case, we also have to know, for example, okay, when we talk about as delimitation, we have two different delimitation. The first one is similar. In Pali, we call Zapagga. Second one is dissimilar with Zapagga. We have to know two different things. Later, when we start talking about 32 body parts, we have to explain the one. So the meditator must discern each of 32 body parts with these 7 ways. But although we say 7 ways, when we are really going to practice, it must be the color, Vanado as to color, Santanato as to shape, Tisato as to direction, Ogasato as to location, Parichetato as to delimitation. So the second 5 are more important for this discernment. Okay, we have to proceed discerning the next part about Tachapanjaka. I think you have already know what does it mean, Tachapanjaka, right? This is called the first 5 body parts. So they are Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danda, Dacho. These are very common. Even in our ordination, Samnita ordination especially, before we are going to shape, we have to give this we have to teach these 5 body parts as repositories. At the time of the Buddha, there are many Samnitas who could attain noblehood by practicing these 5 body parts as repositories. So now we have to start talking about Kesa. Okay, now I have already talked about 7 ways. Among the 7, we have already said the 5 are more important. Okay, Kesa, Wana means as to the color, color means black, right? We have already know, we Asian people have black color. So this is called Wana, sorry, Wana. After that, Santana. Santana it can be round shape. It also can be very long, like a measuring ropes. Like a thread also, right? We can also easily know the Santana because this is outside our body. We can see practically. Then what about Disa? I have already said directions. Directions mean it's upper body parts, upper directions, which means from the navel it's be upwards. That's why we can say upper body. Not only that, then we also have to say another one, Okasa. Okasa means we have like a location. So it is located inside the skin, what inner skin, also that envelope the skull. The root will be located inside the skin, right? Then all other part will be outside the skin. So Parichetato, okay, so Parichetato, here we can also talk about Paricheta. Paricheta, I always say, similar and dissimilar. So if we talk about Paricheta here, it can be in the surface of the skin, also inside the skin, there's their own roots. This is called the limitation. So when we talk about it, we also have to know dissimilar. For example, head hair and body hair, dissimilar. Similarly, head hair and nails, teeth, skin, and all other body parts are dissimilar. So we have to understand all these things like that. This is about the Kesa, head hair. When we talk about head hair, okay, there are also many other discernments. So there are also actually, here I didn't write down 5 other discernments. Actually, among the 5, it also mentioned like a Wana, the color, Santana, the shape, Ogasa, the locations. Also mentioned Gandha, the odor or the smell. So the smell is also repulsives because it's not, if we don't wash our head hair, we don't have good smell. That's why ganta, the odor or the smell. So another one is the asaya, habitat. Okay, here habitat means it depends on where we can find, right? Where we can find. For example, if we can see the head hair on the head, we can say it's beautiful, right? It's nice or good. If we see a thread or hair on the soup or in the food, we don't think it's desirable, right? We just like. So we have to consider many other different ways of repulsiveness. For example, we may have seen many head hair throwing away beside the roads. We may feel repulsive. This is also really very common. So there are mentioned many different places. Also repulsives, according to the color, the smell. Also, there will be many other insects, right? Inside the head hair. Actually, now modern society, in modern, like a modern system of caring the head hair, they have special shampoo. That's why no logs or lice, right? Inside their head hair. Ancient time, they have that kind of problem, right? They have many lice or lice inside in the head hair. That means their head hair is their living place. Anyway, the main thing is we have to know head hair is repulsive. Again, we have the body hair. Also, body hair. Also, we have the skin, right? Also, we have wana, blackish brown, santana, same as head hair. Also, directions. It can be upper body parts, so upper directions. Sometimes it also can be lower directions because we also have many head hair under the navel. That is why there will be two directions: upper body parts and lower body parts. For about the locations, so the head hair will be everywhere inside in the body, except in head hair, right? Head hair is head hair, no, not body hair. That's why body hair will be everywhere except in head hair. Also, we cannot find any body hair in the sole of the feet, also in the palms of the hands. So that's why there will be exception. Now, not only that, in the nails and teeth, right? But exterior part we have nails. In the nail, there's no head hair, no body hair. So orgasm, it can be all over the body except in head hair and so the feet or palms of the hands and maybe teeth or the nails and other little bit, maybe a little bit hot or maybe like dry skin. So for British, I have already mentioned body hair is not head hair, right? This is dissimilar. So their own root is the delimitary. So after that, on the space, they will be on the space. Another one is the nakha, nails. So it will be one of the colors of white, sometimes like a fish scale. The fish scale, you have already seen this one, right? So we can see vertically in our hands. These are the toenails in the lower directions and fingernails in the upper direction. And for about okasa, the location is at the tip of the fingers and toes. Brichira is limited by flesh in two directions. So inside the skin or inside the flesh, we have a root of nails. Outside this flesh, there's a nails, right? So this is for another danda, teeth. So teeth is one of white. Santana, different shapes. It depends on what kind of teeth we have, right? Different shapes. Even in Visuddhimagga, it mentioned different shapes like pumpkin seeds. Mostly small teeth are like pumpkin seeds, right? Also like a jasmine bud. Some are very, very sharp, especially in the corner. Very sharp teeth. This is called similar to jasmine bud. Also, it can be many other different shapes according to the people and the living beings. Then Disa is about directions. Then Okasa, it is fixed on the jaw bones. This is called location. Paricheda, so there will be, we have many teeth. So between the teeth, there's a space. This is also delimitary. Also, there's the root in the jaw. This is also delimitary. So as this is called, we call similar. If we say dissimilar, that means we have to consider as, for example, case size, the case size is not hair has not the teeth. Teeth is not head hair. Body hair is not the teeth. The teeth are not body hair. Something like that. We can also we can also descend as a reposits. The next one is the skin. Skin is, we already know what is the skin color. Right? It can be different color, right? So mostly we may have white skin. Sometimes outer category is like a black, brown, or yellow. It depends on the place we were born, or maybe it depends on our maybe, right? Our family descendants. So Santana, it will be different shapes in the different body parts. For example, in the head, our head is a round shape. It can be like a bowl back, So different body parts, there will be different shapes of skin. That's right. We cannot say exactly what's the shape of skin. These are the directions. It can be upper body parts. It also can be the lower body parts. That's why it can be two directions. Now, Okasa, it covers all over the body. For about Paricheda, it's a fixed surface or surface of the body, also space above it. Above the skin, only space, nothing. Right? This is called similar. For about dissimilar, as we have mentioned before, head hair is not the skin, skin is not head hair. Body hair is not the skin is not body hair. Something like that. We also have to descend directly until we can feel reposits. So these are the first five we call Pacha Panchaka. Mostly we teach all these five for the beginners because we can see practically. Okay, now we have to move to the next one, Vaka Panchaka. So when we talk about Vaka Panchaka, then there will be Mansam, flesh. So flesh mostly red color. Then for our Santana, we have different muscles in our body. The different muscles may have different shapes. Different part of flesh will be different shapes. We have different shapes. That's why we cannot say exactly what's the shape of flesh, right? But for our Disa, it can be two directions, upper body parts and lower body parts, everywhere inside in our body. So Okasa. So it mentions is blessed out over the 300 and odd bones. So there are many bones. There's a blessed out bones. Paricheda. So there are some bones on the skin above it. Also, some of the bones were fixed, right? Each other. So that means we have fixed collections of bones. This is called similar. Okay, I will not explain this similar anymore, right? You can understand. So head hair is not flesh and so forth. Flesh is not head hair and all the 32 body parts. You can understand this similar. Another one is Naharu, sinews. So sinew also mostly Wana, white color. Santana, it can be different shapes according to different types of sinews. These are two directions. Also, Okasa, binding the bones. Mostly sinew will tighten up the bones, right? One to another, connect one to another. Also, Paricheda, fixed on the bones or contact with inner skins and flesh. There is some connections between bones and skins and flesh. This is called Paricheda. Then we have ati, bones. So the color will be white. Santana, it could be different shapes. Then it depends on what part of what types of bones, right? For example, we have column bones, right? Also, we have like arms. Also, they have the bones. All the bones are like a round shape. Some of the bones will be round shape. It depends on the part of the body. There can be different types of bones, different shapes of bones. These are the locations, or sorry, directions. It can be two directions. We can find it can be upper body parts, or it can be in the lower body parts. Okasa, it can be all over the body, not outside, right? Inside the body, right? We're going to see the bones, but it will be inside our body. It can be everywhere. So, bodhicitta. Okay, when we talk about the limitations or the boundary of bones, inside the bone, we have bone marrows. Above the bone, we have flesh or sinew, we already mentioned skin, something like that. So it depends on the place. There will be different delimitation, because as we have known, right? Different, sometimes it's very close to the skin, sometimes it's only the flesh, sometimes sinew. Okay, ati means bone marrow. Bone marrow is we call here white color. Santana is like bamboo tubes and so forth. It depends on what kind of, it depends on the location, right? For example, you have big bones. Inside the big bones, then they may have like a tube, and there will be bone marrow. That's why it depends on the place where it is. So it can be like a bamboo tube. So these are the locations, can be two directions. It depends on where the bone exists. What about okasa? Okasa means the delimitary. It's inside the bones, because bone marrow will be only inside the bones. So for bodhicitta, it was delimited. The delimitation is inner surface of the bones. So inside the bone, there is surface, inner surface, that we can also find. It's the delimitations of bone marrow. So these are, okay, we have the last one about wakam, kidneys. So one eye is like a dark red, reddish color. But Santana, it mentions in the Visuddhimagga like a pair of mango fruits with one stalks. But actually, we can find like a beans, kidney beans. Like it's the shape of kidney beans. So it will be easier to understand. What about, okay, these are, it can be upper body parts, upper directions. So okasa, either side of the heart flesh. So there's it, we call locations. Bodhicitta, so there are something connected with, right? Kidneys, nearby the kidneys or other body parts, we can say this is called bodhicitta. Okay, these are the second groove. Again, we have to go the third groove. Papasapanchaka. The first one is the Harayan heart. Wana is like a red lotus petals. We can say like a little bit reddish color. Santana is like a lotus buds. Outer petals removed and turned upside down. So that means after removing outer petals, and we can turn upside down, right? It will be that kind of shape. This is called Santana. But for these are, it could be upper directions. Then okasa, between two breaths inside the body. This is called Haraya, right? Heart. So bodhicitta, okay, there are many other organs nearby heart, right? For example, liver or nearby, spleen also nearby it, so we can see all other body parts nearby. Heart is called delimitary. But when we talk about dissimilar, we can say like head hair is not, and heart is not head hair, and something like that. We have to discern all 32 body parts. Okay, yakana, liver. So wana, this is the color, is a brownish shade of red. It will be brownish, or like a reddish brown. We can say like that, right? Then santana, like a single roots and twin ends. So liver, we have that one roots, but it end on the twins. We can say like this is called liver. It's upper body parts. These are upper body parts, upper directions. Okasa, the locations, the right sides inside the body. We have the right side from the two breasts. This is called liver. Now, Bricheda, so near the liver, there are many other body parts, right? Okay, now, Kilometer Membranes. Membranes, or wana, the colors are white. Santana, shape of, it depends on the shape of locations, because it will cover many different internal organs. These are, it can be two directions. So okasa, okay, it can be concealed membranes found in covering the hearts and kidneys, and concealed membranes can found covering the flesh and the inner skin all over the body. So that means every flesh, there's a very thin layer of covering. This is called Kilometer. You can also find everywhere inside the body. Bricheda, it depends on the place. There can be different delimitary. Like skin also can be, but it depends on the body part is a cover. So now, next one, 40. Vihakam, spleen. Actually, in the Visuddhimagga, it mentioned like a blue or something like that. Spleen, right? Blue. But if we talk about nila, it can be like a maybe black, right? Or brown. Okay, now santana, like a black calf's tongue. Again, the calf's tongue. These are upper directions. Ogasa, upper side of the belly, left of the heart. This is called, this is where is located. Then near the spleen, there are many other body parts. They are called Bricheda, delimitary or delimitation. Okay, now the next one is Papasam, lungs. Wana, the color is red. The santana is a cut thick slice of cake. So this is it, right? The shape it mentioned, it can be this upper direction. So sometimes Visuddhimagga mentions a little bit strange because we are not very familiar with this kind of things, right? But when we go in and see like a body wards or like a anatomy, we can see clearly. Now in modern society, we don't need to look for many other sources. Just go in and see documentary or some like a anatomy. So it will be easier to understand. Okay, now what about Disa, upper directions? Also Okasa, between two breasts inside the body, or the hanging above the heart and liver, concealing the heart and the liver. This is called spleen, right? Oh, sorry, Papasam, lungs. So these are the next body parts. Okay, we have to move Matalunga Panchaka. The next 5. So they mention undone intestines. Actually, that one's very easy to know. The one is white. Santana, like beheaded snake coin. So after cutting the snake head, we can make coin like snake coins, right? These are, it can be upper directions, also can be lower directions. It can be 2 directions. Because some of the intestine are under the navel. Some are above the navel. That's why it can be 2. Akasa, inside the body, between the limits of the gullet and excrement passage. This is called anta, antam, intestines. So Baricheda, okay, it depends on the part of intestines, right? It's very long, that's fine. It depends on the part of the intestine. There will be different delimitary. The Antagunam, mesentery. Vana, the color is white. Santana, the shape of Dakasidalika. Okay, here in Bali we call Dakasidalika, but we can also say it another way. The white edible water lily roots. Right? This is called Santana, the shape. Bodhisa, it can be 2 directions. Ogasa, inside the 21 coins of the bowels. So, okay, one more thing about this one, Antaguna. Actually, Antaguna is to tighten all the intestines or bowels, or right? That means whenever we move, all the small threads were tied up, not to separate it, the intestines or the coins. This is called Antaguna. Okay, now for about Baricheda, it depends on the place where that coins or that small thread of the small thread existed. Okay, it will tie up many coins of intestines. Okay, now again, for about, okay, next one, Udariya, gorge. So it depends on the colors. It depends on the food we eat. Or if the food we eat is the green color, it can be green, right? If the food we eat is red, it can be red. It depends on the food we eat. It will be different color. For about Santana, so we should use the small piece of cloth, put all the food inside, and if we lace it, right, then it will be tight, then it will be different shape. So in the Visuddhimagga I mentioned, the shape of rice loosely tied in a cloth strainer. So you mentioned like that. Anyway, we can also practically see this one. After eating, we brush. After that, we very tight, right? Different shape according to the place is existed. These are about directions. Then Okasa, its location is in the stomach. So what about Baricheda, delimitary? It depends on the place. Mostly it's covered with intestine or stomach, that's fine. Delimitary is a little bit easier to understand. So 90 Kilometer phases. The phases, the color it depends on the food we eat. Then for about Santana, it depends on the shape of the location. Where is it located? It depends on different shape. Inside the body and outside the body will be different, right? Then Disa will be lower directions. Then Okasa, the place, the location. The location is in the receptacle for digested foods. Then Baricheda, the delimitary, it depends on, right, other body parts nearby. So again, 20 in the next one, Metalunga, brain. The brain is white. The shape it depends on the shape of locations inside the skull, right? It depends on the shape of location. Disa is upper directions. Also, Okasa, it will be inside the skull. Baricheda, so is it like a delimitation is the skull and other body parts. Okay, this is called 20 body parts. We call this 20 body part as Patavi Dhatu. earth elements predominant body parts. So then we have to proceed to the next one we call Metta Chakra. We have already explained 20 body parts. These are called earth element predominant body parts. Now we have to continue talking about water elements predominant body parts. So in the Metta Chakra, mention Pitta or Pittam, bile. So in the Pittam, we have mentioned the color is the color of thick Maduka wine. Okay, here we have to explain two different things about bimes or Pitta. Two types, one is Bada and Apata. So if we talk about this, for example, Badami, it will be only somewhere around the heart, right? You have, sorry, yeah, around there, along the liver, sorry, yeah? we can see the one. So now the Apata can be all over the body. So it depends on the place. We can say differently. Maybe not more necessarily like it can be like a water, like a liquid, right? Go through all over the body. Then Santana is the shape. It depends on the locations. Now, what about Disa? What about the Bada, like palms? It can be upper body parts. But what about Apata? It can be everywhere, all over the body. That's why it can be two directions. Okasa. So it going near the flesh of liver between the lungs. This is called location. Also between the lungs and the heart. Right? This is the locations of palms. What about Apata? It can be all over the body. Right? The location will be all over the body. It will be different. What about Bodhicitta? So it's near the liver, lungs, and heart. That's why we can know. Okay, these are called mostly the liquids, right? Mostly these are liquids. That's why they are called water elements, predominant body parts. Another one is Semam, phlegm. The color is white. Then also mention the color of Nagabala leaves. The color of juice of Nagabala leaves, mentioned like that. So Santana, it depends on the shape or its location. For about Disa, it can be about directions. Okasa will be on the stomach surface. So phlegm is a little bit easier to see, but when we have coughing or something like that, it will be easier to see it. So bodhicitta, it depends on the place, right? It can all come out, it also can come down. When we swallow the food, I guess all the food will go under the phlegm. The phlegm will come out. So it depends on the place or the food on many other situations. It can be different telemetry. Okay, so now we have to go next one. Pass. So pass is football, right? Pass. So one of the color of bleached leaves. Actually, we can see the color of pass easily because if we above our skin, right? We can see in our skin. So Santana, the shape, it depends on the location, right? It can be different shapes. For about Disa, we cannot say exactly where's the pass and fix. When we have some injury or some other blisters, it will come out. So in Okasa, the location also unfixed. Right? We cannot say where it exists. It can come out anytime. Similarly, bodhicitta, it can be unfixed. It depends on the place. Even inside the body, there can be the pass, right? It depends on the place where there's the pass. So different telemetry or different delimitations. We thought about lohita, blood. We have already known the color of the blood is red. Sometimes it can be a little bit maybe reddish brown. Santana, the shape of their it depends on the shape of their location. Different shapes according to the locations. Tisa, it can be two directions, upper body parts and lower body parts. Then for Okasa, the locations, it can be everywhere in the body, except in the fleshless part of the body. For example, in the bone, the no flesh, we're gonna have blood. In the teeth, the hair, head hair, body hair, also nails, the no flesh, that's when there's a no blood. So sometimes we have dry skin or dead skin in the body. In the dead skin also, no blood. Okay, now, Paricheda, delimitary. It depends on the place. There can be different delimitaries, different delimitations. Sweat, Sedor. The color, here mentioned the color of clear sesame wine. The shape, it depends on the locations. Sweat can be everywhere inside the body, in the body. That's why two directions, upper body parts and lower body parts. Okasa, unfixed. We cannot say where the sweat exists, right? It can be anywhere in the body. Paricheda, it depends on other body parts, right? Where we have sweat. So according to our situation, sometimes if we are very heavy, sweat can be everywhere. Unhealthy, some part will be sweaty. Some part of our body will not be sweaty. It depends. So 26, middle, fat. So the color of fat is mostly yellow or yellowish. Santana, it depends on the locations. But these are the two directions. It can be upper body parts. It also can be in the lower body parts. Okasa, it can be all over the body. So some people are very fat, then they may have a lot of fat around their abdomen or everywhere. Then they are under the skin, mostly many fat will be there. So it depends on our body shape, and it depends on our body parts, right? There will be difference. It can be all over the body. Paricheda, delimitary or delimitations, it also depends on the body parts. Then again, we have to continue talking about the next groove. Mudda Panchaka, Mudda Chaka. These are the last part of the little body parts. So here we have the first part, Asu, tear. So the color of tear is the color of clear sesame oil. Then Santana, the shape. It depends on the shape of the location. Tisa, it can be upper directions. Okasa, the location is the film, the iron sockets. Paricheda, it depends on some area around the irons, right? So these are the first parts. Now the Vasa, grease. He also mentioned the color is Wana, the color is the color of coconut oil. Coconut oil or similar, coconut oil is not much different from sesame oil, right? It depends. Mostly, okay, sesame oil is a little bit yellowish, but tear is not yellowish. What is it? White. It depends on what kind of sesame also. Anyway, now we have to talk about Santana, the shape of drop. It depends on, right, the drop we have. These are, it can be two directions. It can be any body parts. Okasa, the location. So mostly this kind of thing can be found in our palms or the hands. Also, some in the back of the hands. Also can be sole of the feet, or back of the feet, or the tip of the toes, forehead, and point of the shoulders, we can find grease. So something like a wine, right? A lot of wine in our face. It depends on the condition we have. So bodhicitta is pertaining of grace. Sometimes, for example, when we wash the stained clothes, if wine stain on the clothes, if we wash, there are many drops. Right? Similarly, wine also, this grace also can be many drops in our face or anywhere in the body. The next one, kilo, saliva. So the one we can see, wana, the color is white. And santana, the shape of it is the shape is, it depends on the locations. These are the directions, the upper directions, because it comes from the mouth. Ogasa is come from the location is on the tongue. Bodhicitta, the delimitry, it depends on where we have saliva. It can be the tongue on the top, right? It also can be teeth, or can be lip and somewhere. So these are saliva. Another one is sanganika, snoot. So the color is the color of young palmia kernel. So we can also see the snoot easily because it's come from our nose, right? Then santana, the shape, it depends on the locations. These are, it can be upper directions. Ogasa, it is a feeling nursery cavities. It's a feeling the nursery, right? Then bodhicitta, it depends on the place. They can be different. Delimitaries or delimitations. Lasika, synovia. So here it mentions about the color. The color is like a kanikara gums. This is a little bit, I think, a format for many listeners, right? This is only Pali words. So santana, the shape of the locations. These are the two directions. It can be upper body parts, also can be lower body parts. Okasa, we can found the lasika, synovia, inside the joints of the bones. Let me, it mentioned, actually in the Visuddhimagga, it mentioned it can be found in 180 joints. So we have many joints. There will be lasika, synovia. So for about bodhicitta, delimitry, it depends on the one of joints, right? One of the joints. So different body part, we have different alignments in the joints. That's why there are different delimitaries, different delimitations. And on the last part, mutam, urine. It can be yellow. It also can be like a water, transparent. It depends on our health condition also. Santana, like the shape is like a water pot upside down. So if we keep water pots, if we place water pots upside down, then you can imagine what kind of shape it is. Tisa, it can be lower directions. Okasa, the location is inside the bladder. Bodhicitta, it depends on the place it exists. So these are 32 body parts. When we are discerning, we have to know all the things a little bit clearer and clearer. Also, I have already mentioned before, we have to practice from 1 to 5, 5 to 1, groove by groove. Now here we have already listed out 5 groove. Sorry, 5. The first group 5, second group also 5, the third group also 5, and something like that. So here we have to recite them orally and reverse order, groove by groove, as mentioned, right? And sevenfold ski in learning. So one more thing here, we have to practice one by one in the very beginning. After that, we can also attain the first jhana in every single body part as we feel reverses in it. Then not only that, if we discern all the 32 body parts overall, we can also attain first jhana. It depends on our skill and our practice. So anyway, briefly, we have to learn all the 32 body parts, the first 5 orderly in a reverse order, after that combine with second 5, altogether 10. 1 to 10, 10 to 1, orderly in a reverse order, similarly up to 15. 1 to 15, 15 to 1, similarly 20. 1 to 20, 20 to 1. Similarly, after that we have 6. So 1 to 26, 26 to 1. Then 1 to 32, 32 to 1, 1 to 32. We can discern orderly in a reverse order. So these are the way we have to practice. As we have already mentioned, we can attain first jhana in every single body part. Okay, not only that, we have to proceed next one. So here we have 10-fold skill in giving and attention. When we pay attention, we must have these 10 skills. So it is a very simple, for example, the first one, Anupubado, as to following the order. We just follow the order. Don't skip anything. So sometimes when we discern, we will see many different body parts, right? When we are discerning head hair, then teeth or nails will appear. We cannot follow that. We must discern only head hair, after that body hair. But head hair and skin are very, very close, right? That's why we must do orderly. Head hair, body hair, teeth, nails, something like that. Not only that, we have 2, Nadi Sikato, not too quickly. If we discern very quickly, we cannot see very clearly. It will be an obstacle. Then 3, Nadi Sanikato, not too slowly. If we discern very slowly also, we cannot finish 32 body parts. That's why we must discern neither too quick nor too slow. Then 4, Vaikhipa Patipahana Do, as to warden of distraction. Of course, if we keep practicing continuously, no more restlessness, no more distraction. If we have a lot of distractions, we cannot practice continuously. These are opposites. 5, Panyati Samadhikamana Do, as to surmounting concepts. So here in this part, we have to know the repulsives. Sometimes we just see head hair as a head hair. We don't feel repulsive, right? Actually, we must overcome, or we must surmount the concepts. Then another one is 6, Anubhuba Mochana Do, as to successive living. So sometimes some of the body parts are not very clear. But when we are discerning head hair, we can see clearly, okay, no problem. Sometimes it's not very clear. Don't spend very long time. Just go to body hair. Right? So if something is not very clear, skip the body parts. You can redo the next round. The second round you can do. You can see it clearly. You may see it clearly. That's why don't spend very long time. If you cannot see it, just skip the parts. Move to the next one. Okay, now 7, Apanado, as to absorption. As I have already mentioned, we can attain jhana, first jhana, in every single body parts. We can also attain, we can also attain the first jhana when descending all over all the 32 body parts overall. It depends on our skill. Okay, so we have 8 to 10. Tayo Sutanta. There are 3 suttas. So here I list out the 3 suttas. we can find the 3 suttas. So they are, the first one is Atitita Sutta. Although we say Atitita Sutta, actually in Visuddhimagga it mentions Atitita Sutta. But when we go and find in the current version of Tipitaka, it will be in the Anguttara Nikaya book of 3, we call Nimitta Sutta. So a bhikkhu should attend the 3 signs from time to time. So the first one is Samadhi Nimitta, the sign of concentration. So from time to time, we should pay attention to the sign of concentration. Then 2, Vagga Nimitta, the sign of exciting energy. So from time to time, we should pay attention to the sign of exciting energy. Then Ubbaka Nimitta, from time to time, we should pay attention to the sign of equanimity. So as we have already know, sometimes when we have very strong concentrations, right, then it will be okay, not really big problem. Sometimes not that much good. We have to pay attention to the sign of concentration. Similarly, exciting energy. Sometimes our mind is not very active, very lazy. We have to pay attention to the sign of exciting energy. Sometimes mind is too active. Then we should pay attention to the sign of equanimity. It depends on the situation we have. We have to pay attention to different nimitta mentioned here. Okay, now, okay, next one. We have next one, Siddhi Bhava Sutta. So, actually, I have already mentioned Siddhi Bhava Sutta in the practice of jhana. Okay, actually, it also we have another name, Anuttara Siddhi Bhava Sutta. We can find the sutta in Anguttara Nikaya, book of 6. So here it mentions he restrains his mind on the occasion. Actually, we have already explained that one in the very beginning of jhana. So from time to time, he must train his mind, right? That means sometimes it's too a lot, or maybe too excessive, maybe too active. At the time, we should develop different types of enlightenment factors. Later, we will explain that one again. So that means actually we have already explained. Okay, briefly, we have already explained all these things when we talk about jhana. You can review that part, right? Then again, we have next one too. He exalts his mind on occasion. So that means exalting his mind, right? On occasions. Sometimes his mind is too active, too lazy. Then it will be he have to exalt his mind. Then also he encourages his mind on occasion. So he encourages his mind. Then again, 4, he looks on at the mind with equanimity on occasion. So sometimes the mind and the objects are working very well. Now we don't need to make any extra efforts. Just wait and watch it, just with equanimity. So it can happen many times. Sometimes our meditation object is also clear. Our mind is also focused on it skillfully without any other disturbance. We just need to wait and watch the mind and the object normally. We don't need to make any extra efforts to make it better. So now 5, he resolute on the superior state of superior state of attainment. So this is also already mentioned before. Then 6, he delights in nibbana. So then our mind must delight in nibbana. This is called come from Siddhi Bhava Sutta. So he has to do one of these 6 from time to time. It depends on the situation we have. So when we are practicing 32 body parts, also we need to do the same things as we have mentioned in jhana. Actually, we have already talked about it in the Purification and the jhana. Okay, now we have the last part, Vajjanga Sutta. Vajjanga Kosala Sutta. We can find that sutta in Simultaneous Chinese, Mahāvagga. But the name of the sutta is Eki Sutta. In current versions, in 6th Council version, we can find as Eki Sutta, because this is the simile of making fire. The Buddha gives some simile about making fire. So, for example, when we are going to make a fire, there's a small piece of fire. We just put many wet grass, wet woods, wet condom. It cannot make fire. It was spoil. It will just extinguish the fire. So if we are going to make a fire, we must put into the fire like a drying grass, drying leaves, drying condoms, and so forth. Then we can make fire. The Buddha gives this simile. That's why it's called Eki Sutta. Okay, now I will summarize. Actually, that's what is really very long. I just summarize here. A bhikkhu should develop the enlightenment factors of investigation, energy, rapture, when the mind is inactive. Sometimes mind is lazy, dull, very weak. At the time we should develop these 3 enlightenment factors. The enlightenment factor of investigation, we call Dhamma Vicaya Sambojjhanga. The enlightenment factor of energy, we call Viriya Sambojjhanga. The enlightenment factor of rapture, Piti Sambojjhanga. So a bhikkhu should develop the enlightenment factors of tranquility, concentration, and equanimity when the mind is active too much. So in the very beginning, the first sutta, it also mentioned, right? Or the second sutta also mentioned, from time to time, we should restrain. From time to time, we should exert. It will be the same with this topic. So we have 2 groups of enlightenment factors. In the first group, investigation, energy, and rapture. In the second group, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. Although we have 7 enlightenment factors, only one of them is not here. That's it, mindfulness, sati. So if we have mindfulness, we can develop these 2 groups. So it depends on our experience. Sometimes our minds are too active. If too active, then we also have exciting, not very good concentrations. Then we have to develop the enlightenment factor of tranquility, passaddhi, the enlightenment factor of concentration, samadhi, the enlightenment factor of equanimity, upekkha. Sometimes our mind is inactive, lazy too much. Then we have to develop the enlightenment factor of investigation, Dhamma Vicaya, the enlightenment factor of energy, viriya, sambojjhanga, the enlightenment factor of rapture, piti sambojjhanga. So, as we are going to make a fire, right? Or we are going to extinguish fire. It depends on the situation. We have to develop 2 different group of enlightenment factors. It mentioned in Eki Sutta or Vajjanga Kosala Sutta. So when we are practicing 32 body parts, from time to time, we have to remember these 3 discourses, 3 suttas. So in the group I have already mentioned, this is it, 8 to 9, right? 8, 9, 10. We have 10 skills, right? In the very beginning, we already mentioned 10 skills in giving attention. So if we are skillful enough, we can pay attention to 32 body parts. We can also attain the jhana. Now here we have the benefits of mindfulness occupied with the body, with the last part of today's Dhamma talk. The next one. So one, he is a conqueror of boredom and delight. So, which means we are not very lazy if we can practice well, right? Also, we are not very happy. So our mind will be free from happiness and unhappiness, both. This is really very good, right? So sometimes, I think many people have that kind of experience. When somebody asks me, right, are you happy? For example, I've been to some other places. Like for example, like when I visited somewhere, like Chaitio in Myanmar, for example, I meet some foreigner. And they ask me, are you happy? It's very difficult to answer. Is happy or not? Because that place is not for happiness for me. Similarly, when we go to some other pagoda, then we may meet some people. They will say, Penny, are you happy? Then when they ask this kind of question, I'm gonna answer because I don't know I'm happy or unhappy. But this is not for happy, not for enjoyment, right? Okay, now here in this case about 32 body parts. After discerning very well, our mind will be free from happiness and unhappiness. It's really very good. No more excitement. Then 2, he is a conqueror of fear and then dread. So, of course, we have already seen undesirable objects, 32 body parts. That's why no more fear, no more dread. That is also very meaningful for our practice. Then again, 3, he can endure heat and cold. So sometimes when we are practicing, too hot or too cold, we have a lot of complaint, right? In Myanmar, actually in summer, it's too hot. In winter, it's okay. In rainy season, also too rainy. Not really very good for meditators. Anyway, so when we can practice very well, we can endure heat and cold. Then 4, he can endure thirst, hunger, and touch or bite by insects. So since we don't have any attachment to our body, we can endure thirst or hunger or touch or bite by insect. It doesn't mean we must not eat, right? We have to sustain our body to practice. That's why we must eat. But sometimes we may have a lot of thirst, or we are thirsty or hungry too much. Then we can be patient. We can endure all this situation. Then 5, he can endure when people complain to him with understandable speech, such as abusive speech. So he has not much attachment to his body. Actually, one more thing about this practice. If we see repulsive in this body, we become very humble. Because we feel repulsives. We also know this body is made of many unclean or impure materials, right? Then we may have less attachment to our body. Also, we will be humble. Now, although some people complain using many different abusive speech, then he can endure. Then 6, he can attain 4 jhanas with 4 kala kasinas. So here we have to talk about 4 kala kasinas again. For example, head hair is black. Taking head hair as an object, we can practice black kasina. By practicing black kasina, we can attain the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana. Because it's just purely black kasina. Not only that, actually, we can also practice immaterial jhana based on that. It will be the next part, right? Anyway, so the one's a black kasina. Now we also have like a pita, yellow kasina. As we have mentioned before, like a fat is yellow, urine also yellow. So sometimes our skin also yellowish. So we can practice yellow kasina. We can attain up to the 4th jhana. Another one is red kasina. For example, like a blood. Sometimes our lip also red, right? Lip also can be red. It depends on maybe nutriment or our maybe parami perfection, right? Karma. You may have different color of lip. So sometimes our palm also red color. Okay. Anyway, the color can be red by taking the blood or any red part of the body as an object. We can also practice red kasina. So by practicing red kasina, we can also attain up to the 4th jhana. The next one is a white kasina, for example, teeth or bones. They are white. So by taking the whiteness of bones as objects, we can also practice white kasina. We can also attain up to the 3rd jhana. So this one here, number 6 we mentioned, we can attain the 4 jhanas with 4 kala kasinas. So here I also mentioned 7. He can attain supernormal powers. We can also say psychic power. So here we just mentioned 4 kala kasinas, but in other parts we can also practice earth kasina, water kasina, fire kasina, wind kasina. If we can practice all these 8 kasinas up to 8 attainments, now we have to practice 40 ways of training minds. After that, we can also attain psychic powers or supernormal powers. So these are the benefits of practicing 32 body parts. So today we have already talked about 32 body parts. This one is really very, very useful for our practice. For example, although here I mentioned we can overcome or we can be a conqueror of fear and dread. In reality, we can also subside all the defilements. For example, love. If we love somebody too much, we wish to have detachment, then we can discern 32 body parts one by one. Which one do you love? Head hair, body hair, teeth, nails. If we ask one by one, then there's nothing to love. Do we love? Similarly, when we hate somebody, we can also do the same. Who do we hate? What do we hate? For example, do you hate head hair? If you beat head hair, it will be okay. Then further, do you hate body hair? You can ask 32 body parts one by one. We can also overcome hate. If we are too much proud of ourselves, our beauty, we can also ask the same things. Not only that, if we are proud of many other things, we can ask the same things. Then we can overcome many different types of defilements in different situations. So this types of practice is really, really very meaningful, very, very useful for our daily life. Okay, so maybe next week we will talk about anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. I think there will be more ingredients because it will be longer than normal meditation subject because we have many source reference from many different suttas, many different texts. Anyway, so today we have already talked about rebirth civilized meditation. When we have a lot of attachment to living things, we can do 32 body parts. It will be useful for our daily life to overcome attachments to living things. So may you all be able to practice the 3 trainings, and may you all be able to realize the final cessation and our suffering. Okay, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Shadow, question 1. For the recollection of death and 32 body parts meditation, are there any difference in the practice way for a beginner meditator, a meditator with jhana, a vipassana meditator? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, for about this body recollection of death, actually, if we can see that dead body, we can practice for beginners. But for about the jhana or for about vipassana practitioners, it will be a little bit different because they can also see the variation, or they can also see the disappearance of life faculties, right? Also, they can also see, for jhana practitioners, they can also see the life faculties cut off or maybe bhanga stops there. Therefore, it will be different. For about 32 body parts, it depends on our parami perfections. For beginner, as we say here, we can recite verbally and mentally. After that, we can also try to see it. We also have to feel repulsiveness. Then it will be a little bit different. For jhana practitioners, they have already attained jhana, they can construct easily. It will be different. Okay?
Thank you, Shadow. Question 2. Dear Shadow, when we practice 32 body parts, do we need to discern the body parts in sequence according to the list in today's lesson? If a meditator is unable to discern some parts, can he skip and move on to the next body parts? Question 2. Shadow, do you want me to finish all the questions or do you want to answer one by one? Okay, let me read question 2. When we try to discern, if we always see bright light and unable to see the body part clearly, how can we overcome this problem? Question 3. Why must we discern the body parts in order and reverse order? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So, okay, this means sometimes we can, or if some of the body parts are unclear, we can skip the parts, sure. But for this is just for later, actually. In the very beginning, in the very beginning, it can be unclear, so we can do. But later, when we become very skillful, then everything will be very clear. Right? There's no exception for it. For about question 2, right? Okay. So if two bright lights in this case, if two bright, it depends on the jhana you have. If you see you have very bright lights with 4 jhana, with the 4th jhana, then you can also practice with that jhana, right? That jhana is not very bright, so it's possible. Then again, why we must discern body parts orderly in a reverse order? Okay, in this case, so we must be skillful, right? If we do orderly and reverse order, we become skillful. We can remember every body parts. So whenever we are going to discern any body parts, we can do easily. But later, it will be useful for jhana practitioners, for example, color casinos. We can take anything as objects, right? Okay, next one.
Question 3. Dear Shadow, why are some body parts not included in 32 body parts practice? For example, gallbladder, pancreas, or bladder. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So ancient time, this is very common. That's why they just own 32 body parts, right? So sure, there are many body parts we cannot see in the 32 body parts, sure. Okay. Then.
Question 4. Dear Shadow, when discerning 32 body parts, how can we be sure that what we see is real and not imagination only? Sadhu,
okay. It depends on the skill. Sometimes if we are very skillful, we can see naturally everything clearly. But if we are not very skillful or not very good concentrations, we cannot see clearly. At the time, we just see the imaginary. Okay, it depends on the skill and the concentration.
Dhamma Talk. please explain Vimuttimagga, Patisambhidamagga, and Visuddhimagga. First, what are their historical background and their relationships? And these three types of treaties, are there any common view or any difference emphasized in their teaching? This may take a long time to explain. Sayadaw may explain later.
Okay. Sure. Vimuttimagga is they say the Sariputta, right? But anyway, Upadesa, they say like that. Anyway, when we Visuddhimagga is a little bit bigger version, longer, more in detail. Vimuttimagga is not that much in detail like a Visuddhimagga. Another one is that there are many other controversial points in Vimuttimagga because it's too small. Now, Patisambhidamagga is a little bit different. This one only talk about the knowledges, different knowledges of the Buddhas and disciples, something like that. But it also includes many other meditation methods there. Anyway, so both of these three books mention, all of these three books mention about meditations, but Vimuttimagga is very small. Visuddhimagga and Patisambhidamagga are a little bit bigger versions, also more in detail, very less controversial points, right? So it will be different. Okay, next one.
In a company, a married person offer cakes or biscuits, the married biscuits with eggs as the ingredient. And if one of the colleagues is a person who follow the precepts, if he eat this type of cakes or bread or biscuits, would he consider panadibada?
So if they have to order, right, we have to consider. Another one is what kind of eggs do they use? Now, some of the eggs are fertilized, some of the eggs are unfertilized, right? It depends on what kind of eggs they use. Then you can consider as a panadibada or not. Okay?
Vanami said all. So sometimes when I love somebody or I hate somebody, just because of their character, not because of their look. So how should I pay attention that so I can overcome the love and hate towards that person?
Okay, in this case, we have many other way of approach, right? Like, for example, like a radiating metta. Also, we have like a compassions, karuna, mudita, ubekha, that kind of practice also possible. Then there are many other ways to overcome love and hate. For example, like discerning 4 elements, right? Then there are many other ways. As long as you don't pay attention to hateful things in that person, it doesn't matter. For example, you say now, the character, you hate their characters. So don't think about character too much. Just think about beautiful living beings. Here's a beautiful living beings. Then you have less hatred. Okay? Next one.
Question number 8. Dear Sayadaw, where the nimitta light appear with 32 parts of body meditation, which part of the body after liver? As I have not received nimitta with anapana, will the habit of reciting the body parts complicate anapana? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Actually, in the case of 32 body parts, okay, you may see any body parts, right? There can be the shape. I have already mentioned the shape, the color, and so forth, right? Already mentioned. You have to see everything clearly. Then you may feel repulsive. This is the nimitta of 32 body parts. It will be different from anapanasati. So the light can be all over the body, right?
Which part of the body after liver?
Okay. So when we talk about the body parts, after the liver, there's a membranes, Kilometer Membranes, right?
As I have not received nimitta with anapana, will the habit of reciting the body parts complicate anapana?
Okay. So in this case, you must not mix 2 meditation subjects together. when you are practicing anapanasati, don't think about 32 body parts. When you are practicing 32 body parts, don't think about anapanasati. If you mess up these two things, it will be very messy or very complicated. Sure. Okay, next one.
Question 9, Wandani Sayadaw. For Tisivara Dutangamang, strict life, can you advise us how to use Vinaya's sitting cloth properly? Can he separate it if the Dhamma hall, dining hall have available sitting cloth already for him to sit?
Actually, for sitting cloth, it's allowable. Right? It's not for wearing. Sitting clothes is not for wearing. That's why it's allowable to use sitting clothes. It doesn't matter. So, for example, like a leather sheets, right? Leather sheet also possible to use as sitting clothes. It's also okay. Then next one.
Can he separate it before dawn, and how many maximum man can separate?
Actually, in the dawn rise, it depends on the situation we have. We must not be separated. Okay. So maximum months. So this is according to Katina periods. It depends. Okay. Next one.
If Tisivara Dutangamang can use it for lower rope, while Tisivara is wet.
Okay. So lower rope is wet. He can wear upper ropes as lower ropes. It doesn't matter. But he must not wear double ropes as lower ropes. It will be exception. Okay. Next one.
If Tisivara Dutangamang has a hole in lower rope, which is so already, but one side threads come out, did he break Dutanga, and how he can do properly? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
The thread come out is not really big problem. Right? For example, like after sewing, you must determine this is the one thing. So as long as it depends on the size of hole, right? Then you have to consider. If the size is not very big enough, it will be okay, not really big problem.
Wandani Sayadaw, I don't like to take a shower. Is there any solution?
Okay. Right, you can rub with your wet clothes, right? Right, you can rub your body with the wet clothes. It's possible, right? Okay, next one.
Dear Sayadaw, when one practices repulsiveness, we don't feel joy. Without joy, how do one attain jhana?
Okay, so actually we have some example about that one, like a scavenger. When a scavenger see a pile of rubbish, then he will feel happy because he can earn a lot of money. Similarly, when we see repulsiveness of the body in the very beginning, we cannot feel joy. But later, we can feel joy and happiness when seeing it, like a scavenger feel happy, then we can also attain jhana. Okay?
When I start to practice the 32 body parts, I feel repulsive, cannot practice anymore. How to do?
Actually, if this is a good sign, you should continue practicing, right? If you feel repulsive, it's a good sign to practice continuously. But later, you can feel joy. Then you can also can experience a little bit better. This is a good sign. All right? Anyway.
Yes, Sayadaw. I have heard when practicing 32 parts of the body, visualize piles of nail, piles of hair, not to visualize your own hair or nail as attachment can arise. Once I was standing next to my angry supervisor and I was feeling freedom, not affected by her anger because brain appeared in my mind. Is it correct to visualize piles of body parts without trying to feel repulsive?
Actually, when you go and read Mahasatipatthana Sutta, it also mentioned you will have to discern 32 body parts internally and externally, both. So we have to discern our own body parts. We also have to discern other people's body parts. For example, we have different attachments. for example, flesh. We may feel repulsive our flesh, but we also eat meat, it's other people's flesh, other living beings' flesh. That is why it depends on the situation. We have to discern both internally and externally. It will be useful. So whether you hate or you love, do it. It will be more meaningful. Okay?
Yeah, though. I don't like walking meditation. How to become more inclined to walking meditation?
Actually, we have to know the benefit of walking meditation. For example, when we are sitting, our concentration is stronger. When we are walking, our effort is stronger. By using these two postures, walking and then sitting, you know how to balance between concentration and efforts. It will be more beneficial for you, right? If you know the value of walking meditation, you will do it. Okay?
What is the normal speed to discern 32 parts for 1 round? How much time to discern 32 parts in 1 round is considered normal speed?
Okay, so let me, for a few seconds will be okay, right? We don't limit how many seconds. For a few seconds is good enough for the beginner. Don't spend very long time because you will not finish 32 body parts. So later when you become skillful, I think within 2 or 3 seconds you can feel, right? It depends on the skill. Okay?
Before having jhana, can a meditator practice other kammatthana other than anapanasati meditation?
Sure, it's possible. We can start with any meditation subjects as a foundation. It will be okay. Excepting Ubhaka meditation and immaterial jhana, right? We're gonna do Ubhaka meditation and immaterial jhana as a beginner. For other practice, it will be okay. Next one.
Question 17. Dear Sayadaw, to feel repulsive, I can visualize hair in the soup, etc. But is it necessary to feel repulsive? But if I enjoy concentrating on 32 parts already and see some advantage already, does feeling repulsive still necessary?
Okay, this is a repulsive meditation. So, Visuddhimagga, after seeing the light or something like that, you may not feel repulsive that much, but anyway, you can attain jhana, right? So after attaining jhana, sure, it's not very clear repulsives. If you feel repulsives, it's much better. So we cannot say necessary or unnecessary, right? It's much better for jhana attainment. Okay?
Without the guidance from a teacher, can one practice by themselves? Because he heard that during the practice of meditation, they may be going to the wrong way. What to do with that?
Of course, sometimes if we don't have proper guidance, there can be wrong ways. Then sometimes you have difficulty in your body. For example, like a breathing meditation. Sometimes they use too much power, mind power. They have a lot of stiffness, tensions, elements. They cannot practice very well. So that is why you need some guidance. So, okay, briefly, without guidance, if you are skillful, or if you can train very well, not using too much mind power, it will be okay. If you use too much mind power or too much strength, it will be the problem. Okay?
Yeah, back to the question just now about taking the married biscuits with eggs as ingredient. So she would like to ask, this eggs is a normal eggs. If his colleagues take this type of cakes or biscuits, would he consider Panadibada?
So it's an unfertilized, right? Normal eggs unfertilized. We cannot say Panadibada. If fertilized eggs, it will be Panadibada. Okay?
Is it possible for Deva to come to the human world to work and earn money, then offer to the Sangha?
They don't need to work, right? They don't need to earn money. They have a donation already, right? They don't need to come to human realms. Okay.
In daily life, if she faced with some problem or obstructions, can she use feng shui or other methods from other religions to remove this type of obstructions?
Okay, so for about daily usage, as long as it's not wrong view, it doesn't matter, right? Some of the traditions are useful, it will be okay. Some of the traditions are leading you to the wrong view, then you should not use that kind of things. Okay.
If someone when he speak or the word usage that he use lets other people feel very cool without any emotions, and because of that it will make others feel unhappy or hate her. So how should she do?
Okay, so I mean, no, not so friendly, right?
Yeah, very
so in this case
and unfriendly words usage.
Sure. Okay, so in this case, we must have a social skill. So we don't know the conditions of that person, right? So anyway, actually we have to learn many different things about speaking. For example, we have many guidance of Buddha's teaching, like Kalanyu, Matanyu, Waranyu, many things like that. For example, one of them, Kalanyu, we must know the time when we should speak, that kind of things, right? For example, like a Matanyu, we must know the limit, what we should say, what we should not say. Then another thing is Parisanyu or Pokalanyu. This means we must know the listeners' conditions. So after understanding all these situations, we have to speak. This is called right speech. Actually, in this case, the person should learn more about right speech according to Buddha's teaching. It will be easier to communicate well. Okay?
Question 25. Dear Sarah, if you have time, would like to understand the object of the tear, clear oil, and the object of the saliva. Sadhu.
Okay. So after the tear, we have the grease. What's that grease, right? A kind of wine. If we can find in the face, sometimes we have wines around the nose, right? Like this is called grease. This is called wasa. After saliva, snooze comes from the nose, When we have some like sneezing, we have some snooze inside the nose. This is called sanganika after saliva. Okay?
问答密西亚多，你们出手指 for a meditator who first enter into first jhana, first time enter into first jhana, second jhana, and third and fourth jhana, which with this meditator would he have this unskillful jhana samapatti viti, and this so-called unskillful jhana samapatti viti, would they only have 5 jhavana citakana?
Actually, first attainment and first entering will be different. We're going to say only 5 jhana jhavanas, right? Because as for example, he can enter for a few minutes. It cannot be more than, right? Few minutes is long enough. It can be many millions of mind moments. That's why we're going to say 5 jhanas like that. Okay? Then there's one.
In the practice of anapanasati, the mind power is not strong, so always you have the eyes to see the breath, and in this way the eye will become very uncomfortable, cannot calm down. How to adjust himself?
Actually, okay, if necessary, in the very beginning of the sitting, you can open your eyes. Just try to know the breathing with open eyes. Then when you can know or when you can feel the breathing clearly with half open eyes, you can keep knowing it. Then if you can feel very well, if you can know it clearly, close your eyes totally, you can understand you are not using your eyes, just using your mind. It will be easier, okay? Etta vata ja amehi sambadam punya sambadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe buddha numodandu sabbe satta numodandu sabba sambati siriya idam me nyatinam hodu sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me nyatinam hodu sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me nyatinam hodu sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me punyam asawakaya waham hodu idam me punyam nibbanasa pajayo hodu mama punya bhagam sabba satanam bhajemi te sabbe me samam punya bhagam labandu sadhu sadhu sadhu